And then finally, mark your calendars for October and January. Those are the 2 months that you can bring membership guests for free. Plan that now, October and January. And it's now time for me to ask Steve Liner to introduce our district governor for the 2019-20 year. Steve?
Thank you, President Kay. Rotary Club of Tallahassee members and guests. It's been a while since I've been up here, but it's really nice to be over there. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you your district governor, Enos Richards. District Governor Richards was born in Washington, D.C., spending her early years living in Chevy Chase, Maryland. Since Birmingham, Alabama was a family home, she enjoyed her summers visiting relatives in Birmingham and Mobile. Enos earned her BA degree from Judson College in Alabama and attended Johns Hopkins University for some graduate courses. She and her late husband, former District Governor Ron Richards, lived in Birmingham a number of years before moving to Pensacola in 1988. Enos worked most of her life in the area of development at the Children's Hospital of Alabama, the American Lung Association, and Covenant Hospice. She was also the executive director of the Pensacola Symphony Orchestra for several years, and then the executive director of the Northwest Florida Ballet when she retired to take care of her mother-in-law. Enos has been very active in the community and has served on several boards, including the Navarre Chamber of Commerce, and is currently serving on the Community Advisory Board of Gulf Breeze Hospital. Enos is a member of the Rotary Club of Pensacola, won't hold that against her, and she has served on many committees on the club level, district level, and the zone level. She is a major donor, a member of the Paul Harris Society, a member of the Bequest Society, and a district leader for the Rotary Institute, also having served as the district director for 3.5 years. She has been Rotarian since 1988 and has perfect attendance. She and her late husband, Ron, were married for 33 years. She currently lives in Navarre with her 16-year-old Shih Tzu. With that said, it gives me great pleasure to present to you your District Governor 6040, Enos Richards. Let's give her a hand.
Delighted to be here today, and what a warm welcome, and I can feel the energy in this club. It's just wonderful. I also appreciate the nautical theme. Yes, I've been a sailor most of my life, and I'll tell you just a short thing about it in just a few minutes. I also want to thank, it was John Rollerson, if I say it right, for the tour this morning. The FSU Master Craftsman Studio was fascinating, and you really have some outstanding artwork around this campus that really does set it apart, and I was just delighted to be able to have the opportunity to see that. As far as sailing goes, yes, I've sailed my life, mobile, little boats, big boats. I had just sold my well, it started off with a 25-foot swing keel. When Ron and I were married, we went to St. Thomas on our honeymoon, and that was the first time he'd been on a sailboat. We went out on True Love, which is the boat that Bing Crosby and Grace Kelly did the movie, and he just was hooked on it. So the very first boat for him was a 25-foot swing keel Catalina. And then one day, very hot summer day on Lake Martin, Lake Martin, they said it was trailable. It took all day to get it on a trailer to go down to Pensacola, and it never went back. It was just such a pain to get it on the trailer. So after a lot of weekends of showers with the hose over the boom, we decided maybe we ought to get a boat that had a shower. So So we got a 30-foot Catalina and almost named it Hot Shower, but I'm so thankful we didn't do that. But in any event, we kept that forever until I guess the hot flashes. I finally told Ron that I think maybe some air conditioning might be a nice thing to have. So after Ron passed away in 2011, I did sell it to a good friend. But I go out on all my friends' boats, so have a great time. So thanks for asking about it, and I do appreciate the nautical theme. Another thing before I get into my presentation, I want to, I want to talk to you a little bit about your foundation giving and how impressive it is. Your club has raised over $1.17 million for the Rotary Foundation. That's outstanding. Over the last 4 years alone, your club has raised over $400,000. That's another congratulations. And I thank you for your continuing support. And I'd like to recognize some people. Would all of the major donors please stand and be recognized? Come on. Here we go. Excellent. I'd like to ask all the Paul Harris Society members to please stand. All right. Wow. Impressive. And last but not least, of course, I'd like to ask all the Paul Harris Fellows to stand. That's super. Thank you very much. It looks like only the attendees not standing are the guests, so well done, Tallahassee. I also would like to ask for Callie Neal to please come forward, and Nancy Stabina Robinson, please come forward. I have the honor of inducting, or actually giving an award to a new Paul Harris Fellow. And if you please come up on the stage. Try to talk in the mic and look at you too at the same time. The presentation of the Paul Harris Fellow recognition is the Rotary Foundation's way of expressing its appreciation for a substantial contribution to its humanitarian and educational programs. It is named for our founder, Paul Harris, a Chicago lawyer, who started Rotary International with 3 business associates in 1905. We move close to a world of peace and goodwill today as you become a Paul Harris Fellow. Your gift to the Rotary Foundation's educational and humanitarian program is a commitment to peace and a better life for people across the world whom you may never meet. This is truly a selfless action. It is because of gifts like yours that the Rotary Foundation is able to carry out an array of programs that achieve beneficial changes to our world, improve living conditions, increase food production, better education, wider availability of treatment and rehabilitation for sick and disabled, new channels for the flow of international understanding, and brighter hopes for peace. In becoming a Paul Harris Fellow, you join a remarkable company of persons throughout the world, all recognized for their devotion to the ideal of goodwill, peace, and understanding. It is a goal of Rotarians the world over, and one that you clearly share. So it gives me great pleasure to present you with the emblem of appreciation. Actually, your president is going to do that. The Paul Harris pin. And I'd like for all of us to stand and congratulate Kelly on this honor. Please be seated. One other quick announcement before I get into the presentation. Now, there's been a little rivalry, little fun, pleasant, friendly rivalry between the Rotary Club of Tallahassee and the Rotary Club of Pensacola, which is the oldest club in the nation. And I can say today, Ivan, where are you?
Right here.
We are also the largest club in the district today. Check your phone. to say this today. I just love it. All right, well, onward and upward, hopefully, here. I also want to say hello to all of the past, would all the past district governors please stand? It's an awesome job, and I have big shoes to fill. Well, I also want to talk a little bit about some of the changes this year. Our president, Mark Maloney, is from Decatur, Alabama. That's his wife, Gabe, up on the screen. Really a great, great couple. But one thing that I noted that they are really pushing this year, and that's membership. There's a lot of concern about membership going down throughout the world, but especially in the States. Now, we've been about 1.2 million for a long time. And we know we've got people coming in, but there are people going out the back door. So they really want to start thinking outside the box. And one thing that I've noted through the years, but especially this year, I mean, I've been a Rotarian 21 years. I've seen a lot of changes, but nothing like what I'm seeing this year. All the power is really being pushed down to the club level where it should be, because everything good in Rotary happens at the club level. All of us above that are here to support you. We're to be a resource for you and help in any way that we can. So you make the decisions of what your members want. Your board makes that decision. And so I've seen so many changes this year. It's really thinking outside the box. They're trying to engage not only the members you have. Yes, we need new members. We need to engage the members that we have. We need to keep them. Maybe you need a retention committee. You know, somebody different on the committee meets the new person each week, says, I want you to sit with me. But one thing that Mark says, and we need to create alternatives for membership for the next generation. We don't want Rotary to die with our generation. And they're different. Now, I'm generalizing, but they're different. Many of them will not come sit in a meeting every week. But if you have a fundraiser, they'll be your hardest workers. And so Andre Boyd is our district membership chair, and he's going to be visiting clubs and sharing with you a lot of ideas on how you can grow Rotary. And one, I'll just mention, is a satellite club. Perhaps you have young people that can't pay the dues, but they want to work hard. But they don't want to leave in the middle of the day. They're very into their jobs. So maybe a satellite club right after work. The dues are less because it doesn't include a meal. It's still part of your club, because they don't have to have a certain number as you do when you get a charter to be a Rotary Club. But that's just one of the ideas you may hear about, but we do need to get more people involved in Rotary, and we need to find a way to bring the younger people into the fold here. And another thing I thought was interesting, a lot of the rules have been pushed aside. It's whatever you all decide to do. Attendance is not that strict anymore. It's up to you. And where you have to do a makeup 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after, you have a year now to do a makeup, if you take attendance. And Rotaract clubs, and in the board meeting, we were talking a little bit about that, but I want to mention something about the Rotaract clubs. Rotaracts are now on an equal level to Rotary clubs. In fact, you can have a Rotaract member join your club and be a member of both Rotaract and your Rotary club at the same time. And one thing that he does suggest that you have Rotaractors come every now and then to your meetings, your luncheon meetings, to get accustomed to being around a Rotary member and what it's like to be in a Rotary club. The other thing too, the classification system, the limitation has been removed, so clubs may now determine for themselves the appropriate number of members in a particular classification. Well, we've been budging on that for years. Do you think a club this size and a club the size of Pensacola would have only one attorney? No. One banker? No. It doesn't work that way. So that was a good one to put to rest. Also, President Maloney believes that no one should have to choose between Rotary and their family. So like him, he encourages whole families to participate in Rotary, including coming to Rotary meetings. Again, that's up to your club if you want to do that. But he's been bringing his 2 daughters to Rotary meetings since they were very, very little. All right, I'm going to start going into my presentation here. And I do want to say, I thought that Mark Maloney and his wife were just a delightful couple, and I enjoyed meeting him. And you know, he took me aside and he said, you know, I just want to be sure you understand all the ropes in being a governor. And he told me a lot of things, and frankly, I think I handled it pretty well. So when I recovered, I did tell him that I thought that the theme this year was the best I'd ever heard of. I love Rotary Connects the World. And what you're going to hear is why it means so much to me. And it's funny because I'm a pretty private person. I've never talked much about my past because I frankly didn't think he might be that interested. But somebody higher up heard a story one time and why I was inspired to really love Rotary. He said, you need to tell that story. So for what it's worth, you're going to hear it. But I love Rotary Connects the World. And I'm a believer that in conquering world peace and understanding, which is one of Rotary's missions, is happening every day by Rotarians interacting with Rotarians here and around the world. One of the many life stories that later made me passionate about Rotary's mission involved an early part of my life. A few years after college, I fell in love and married an Air Force pilot. It was not Ron Richards. I was married before, and a lot of people don't know that. His name was George Cameron. And George, 2 months after being married, he had already volunteered for Vietnam. And he was a fighter pilot and a very good one. He was top in his class. And he signed up in fighter jets, but they were full. But he said, well, what do you need? And they said, well, we need forward air control pilots, FAC pilots. Now, FAC pilots, it's a very dangerous job. You're in a very slow plane. Here's the plane. It's basically a Cessna Super Skymaster. That's called an O2. And what you are doing, you're flying low and you're flying slow, and you're trying to find the enemy, and you call in the airstrikes. Very dangerous job. Some of them didn't come back, but George did. He was lucky to be alive. And he had also earned the Distinguished Flying Cross, Silver Star, and Air Medal with numerous oak leaf clusters, meaning many times over. Although he was very humble about it, of course, we were very, very proud of him, and he could pick his next assignment. So we were off to Germany. Well, I can tell you that I had a lot of misconception about Germans. I really did. I had been to Canada, but I really hadn't been out of the country. Well, let me tell you what, they had misconceptions about us as well. Kind of funny, because back then, the only American TV show they could get was Bonanza. And they had wondered when I was going to put my cowgirl outfit on, and they thought all of us walked around in cowboy and cowgirl outfits, and I thought that was a stitch. But we lived in a little village called Beschheim. It was 17 miles north of Wiesbaden, and that was my house. Well, the weather isn't always that wonderful in Germany, but they actually can handle that because they have parties all the time and lots of wine. There's always lots of wine. And we had a blast. Made some of the best friends in Germany. And of course, here's a picture of one of the parties. It's an old picture. George is playing the guitar. I was playing mine with him and put it down. And we were singing and having a good time. If I really am happy. I think what it really is, I have a little too much wine. But it was fun. But if you fast forward 3 years and just 2 weeks before coming back to the States on a very stormy day with low visibility, George said he was surprised that they were flying that day when I drove us both into the base. Well, about 3 hours after that, he called in his final approach for landing, but he never returned. I was there at base ops to meet him for lunch, and everybody's running around. I said, where's George? They said, we don't know. I said, well, what do you mean you don't know? They said, well, they called in his final approach for landing. He was such a good pilot that we turned the radar off. So when he didn't show up, they didn't know where to look. So 3 hours after that, I thought I had good news when they found the crash site in a wooded area near the base, and that George was spotted crawling on the ground, very much alive. But unfortunately, after that length of time and internal bleeding, he passed away just as they reached him. And this is the last picture of George. That's 2 weeks before the crash. And we always had a great time. And that makes me feel good. If he was going to stay 28 years of age forever, he had a good life too. And it was his mother that my second husband and I took care of the last 7 years of her life. So we had a good time. Now there's a reason I tell you this story, because I want to spotlight my German neighbors and how caring they were. In showing respect for George, my next door neighbors, Annalise and Heinz, plus their 2 children, went to the crash site to pay homage. I was sent back to the States. I only knew my immediate neighbors in Bechstein, but when I was about to enter the cab to take me to the airport, a mass of people had formed down in the heart of the village. I didn't want to be presumptuous, so I hesitantly asked Annalise, I said, they're not there for me, are they? And she said, well, they are. I didn't believe her, but I did raise my hand just in case. The whole town waved back at me. Once again, I was speechless. I was surprised enough when the town soccer team came by to pay respect, since George played on their team, and that's difficult in another country to get on another country's sports team. You know, they're these little sports jocks, a pretty tight group, but I was also amazed to hear that they wore the black armbands every game they played the rest of that time, the rest of that year. And it makes me wonder, would we do that for somebody from another country? Would we go all out like that? I like to think so, and certainly as Rotarian, but I'm not really sure. Well, a few years later, I remarried another wonderful man, and many of you met Ron Richards, my husband of 33 years. Now, you didn't know what he looked like when I met him. And back in that time, long hair was popular. I mean, he even had hair. That's Ron when I met him. Long hair Ron. This is what you remember. District Governor 2008-2009. Well, 35 years after I left Germany, I took Ron with me to visit once again the town that I called my home for 3 years. Things don't change much in Germany, and Annalisa greeted me with open arms and tears running down her face as they did mine. That's Annalisa on the right and her husband, Heinz. They immediately fell in love with Ron, and within a few minutes we had all our friends together at the house and then went out to dinner. This little village now has a 5-star restaurant. And yes, the line did flow. I don't know how they do it, but we had an outstanding time. Well, you know, I left Germany when I left so many years before. Annalisa had 2 children. She had an 11-year-old girl and a 9-year-old blonde-headed boy that I was very close to. Now, 35 years later, this little blonde-headed boy was a grown man. Well, he said, I want to show you something. Now, here's a picture, an older picture. Annalisa's on the right. The little boy is hugging her. The other 2 children are friends of his. And yes, once upon a time, I was a string bean. That's me in a hat, visiting the same castle 2 weeks before I took Ron, because I wanted George, to see this castle because it was so interesting. Well, now, 35 years later, that little boy there goes home, he comes back, he's a grown man, he has a piece of metal with him that he had saved for 35 years. This was a piece of the plane that he had found in the woods the day they visited the crash site to pay respects to George. He saved it all that time because he remembered I said, someday I'll come back. I don't know when, but I will be back. And he knew I might want to see it. Well, I was stunned. I was stunned by the compassion and caring of these wonderful people. And it was my experiencing the love of these wonderful people and Rotary's mission of fostering world peace and understanding that inspired me to join Rotary when I was invited. And I was invited by Judge Roger Vinson, who was at that time on the board of the Symphony. He also had known my father. And I have never regretted all the years that I've been in Rotary. Best thing I could have done. I do want to mention something about fellowships and also about some of the foreign exchanges. This is a yachting fellowship. You can join a fellowship in Rotary which will connect you with people all over the world that have the same interests that you have, whether it's wine drinking, whether it's RVing, walking, cycling. And again, it helps you connect with other people that enjoy the same things that you do. Now, Ron and I were very, very active in the group study exchange. We still have that. It does come out of the World Fund rather than, it comes out of grant money rather than the World Fund. But we also have vocational training teams and friendship exchanges. So there are many ways that we can connect with people all over the world. And I want to show you some of these wonderful people. And I've gotten invitations to go all over the world, and they've come here to visit me too. So it's been a really, really great relationship. This is Mario. Mario's wife, Bruna. The second visit for Mario coming over here to see us. And I've been to Portugal twice. He was the team leader of Portugal. That's a close-up picture of them. Just a great, great, fun couple. This is Dr. Rao. This is when I went to visit India in June. And Dr. Rao is an orthopedic surgeon, very well read, impeccable English. He could quote Mark Twain better than all of us in the room together. He was that smart and very interesting man. Of course, he was saying I wasn't drinking enough water, so he was always hauling water around for me, and I was grateful for that. This was another team leader, and this one was from Hyderabad, another area in India, a little more cosmopolitan, and that's his wife on the left, his aunt on the right. She grabbed me by the arm and said, I can shop better than any woman, and you're coming with me. And she wore me out. Great fun and great people. Now I want to tell you about this young man. I went places in India that most Americans had never been. You had to go by Jeep, and there weren't no paved roads at all. And I was able to see some of the projects this district had done. This man came up to me after I had been invited to go through a temple, and I wanted that opportunity to see what it was like. When I came out the other side, he walked up to me and he said, thank you. And I said, well, why? And he said, because it makes me feel good to see somebody from another country interested in learning about our customs. Now, does that not help foster world peace and understanding? And it may be one person at a time, it may be one family at a time, but it certainly meant a lot to me. This was the Italian team. Davide, the heartthrob of the young ladies, is in the back. And this was both the outgoing and the incoming team. And again, all these remain very close friends. But you know, what's interesting, well, I've got one more to show you. This, he looks like Dustin Hoffman, but that actually is the district governor 2008-2009 from Milan. Alessandro Clarici is his name, and that's his wife, and that's when we visited them, and they treated us like royalty. But I want to talk about this man in just a minute, but I want to say that every time they left, they all said the same thing. You Americans are so different than what we envisioned. You're kind and caring, you have the same concerns about taking care of children, your elderly parents, jobs, the economy. I said, so I get it. What you really thought, we were rich, arrogant, know-it-all Americans, is that right? He said, well, yeah, that's kind of what we thought. Well, you know, I thought about that a long time, and then I asked him, I said, you watch American TV, don't you? All the time. Well, I don't know if you agree with me, but I frankly think that all those little sitcoms do not depict the very normal American family. Nothing like it. In fact, it really puts us in a bad light, and they watch that, and they think that's exactly what we're like. Just like the soap operas, the women walk around in cocktail dresses, sipping champagne, talking to their neighbor about the affair the other neighbor had. Terrible stuff. So that's what they think. But I'll tell you, this young man's name was Rishi. Now Rishi was not shy. He wanted to try everything that we had here, including eating a hot dog. And he loved it. Of course, I didn't tell him what was in it either, but he thought that was excellent. Well, Rishi writes for the largest newspaper in India called The Hindu, and that's his home and his office, and that's his wife with him. Now, after returning to India, he wrote a very long article for his newspaper telling everyone in his country how wonderful we were and how we were so much alike in the concerns and activities we conducted every day. And I think what he did had more to do with fostering world peace and understanding than the achievements of most politicians. Now, when we do projects here at home and around the world, we're also connecting with people and Rotarians, extending the hand of friendship. And you can be proud of this district. We've done a lot of wonderful projects, not just overseas. We've done them here. backpacks, dictionaries, feed the hungry, you name it. We've done lots of things here, but we've done a lot outside this country, which also helps foster world peace and understanding. For instance, this district purchased cows. The cows were given to widows. The widows sold the milk, so they had money to send their children to school. The schools with dirt floors needed desks. These children were having lots of back problems and leg problems. So this district, 6940, purchased desks to send to India. The desks would seat 3 children. I do want to show you my favorite. I always have to throw my favorite in. But the children were on vacation, and it was their choice to come back because they personally wanted to thank us for the desks. And I know you can't see it well, but District 6940 is recognized on the front of that desk along with the partnership with 3160 in India. And we had a lot of fun visiting with them. Again, a very rural area we had to get to by Jeep. Now my favorite there is this little guy. Now he's got an impish face, so probably looking, as I say, full of piss and vinegar, right? Ready to go. But these were all meaningful to us. We've done water projects. I took these pictures in a rural village. We've also donated equipment to hospitals. We donated this to an eye hospital. And since Ron had just passed away, I asked Jean Norman to go with me. And Jean is handing a medical bag to this woman who had just had cataract surgery. They were so extremely grateful for everything that we had done. In fact, one way that they showed their gratitude is they put these shawls they have made over your shoulders. Now, we each had about 6 shawls over our shoulders, plus the flowers. And again, I think I told you it was over 100 degrees, so we took it well, but it was hot. All right, I want to talk about one other topic here, the 4-way test, and why it's so meaningful to me. It's an impressive part of Rotary, and we all grew up understanding right from wrong. And I learned at an early age not to do wrong because guilt was printed all over my face. If I even thought about doing something wrong, I already looked guilty. My father was an attorney and later a federal justice. He knew me like a book, and I couldn't get away with anything. So I stopped trying. But you know, perhaps I was living under a rock because I was shocked at the number of times I was confronted by situations from people I knew that were asking me to do something intentionally wrong, whether it was with a group of junior high friends at the dime store, asking me to join them in stealing makeup, which I didn't do, or the vendor when I worked at the hospital, who basically said that if I accepted a higher than normal bill from him, he would split the difference with me. Well, I was shocked. I worked with this man for 5 years. It's always good old Joe. And for him to do that, I couldn't believe it. Well, I reported him, and I didn't do it to look good to my boss. I did it because it was the right thing to do. And you have to have respect for yourself when you look in the mirror. How can anybody else respect you if you can't respect yourself? So I reported him, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. If we don't respect and like ourselves when we look in the mirror, nobody can respect us. And these situations, unfortunately, would come up time and time again, and I tried to do the right choice. And we are all confronted by these types of situations every day. I hate to say it, but it's Rotary's 4-way test in how to conduct ourselves both professionally and personally, which is a good model for keeping us on the right track, developing integrity and respect. And as you all know, once you lose that, it's very, very difficult to earn it back. All right, I want to mention something about the foundation. There are people here that are more versed in it than I am. But I know it's confusing to a lot of people, and I'm not going to talk long about it. But I am going to simplify it a lot for you and tell you why it's so impressive to me. And I hope everybody will support the foundation this year because I don't know of another organization that basically gives all the donated money that you give them back to you within 3 years. None of the monies donated are used for administrative purposes. The administrative costs come from the interest income off of that investment for 3 years of your money. there was an exception to that for a while, when in 2008 or around that time, there was no interest income being generated. But I don't know of another organization that does that. And it comes back to you in matching grants. It comes back to you for district grants. It's not just for international. It's for doing things here at home as well. And so it's your money, and all of it comes back. And you know what's even more impressive to me is if you donate to Polio Plus, the Gates Foundation will match your money 2 for 1. So if I make a $1,000 donation, I get $3,000 worth of impact.